If you've been dieting, you're working out consistently, and you're not losing weight, I hate to break it to you, you're probably overdoing it. Don't worry, in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix it. You're most likely going to have to take one step back in order to take 10 steps forward. So, a lot of people that are just starting out their weight loss journey tend to overdo it when it comes to diet and exercise. And don't get me wrong, even experienced people are guilty of this. It's obviously different for every person, but usually the common line of thinking is just because something is good for you, then more is always better. I even got caught up with that line of thinking a couple of years ago when I was overdoing it with intermittent fasting. It started to affect me negatively, so I had to pull back a little. But because I took that one step back, I'm able to take 10 steps forward. Listen, fasting is good for you, but you can absolutely overdo it. It's the same thing, for example, when you go on the keto diet, which I am a fan of as a tool, but you absolutely need to cycle out of it. Most people don't do that, they just overdo it on the keto. But for a lot of people, overdoing it can mean in terms of what your body can handle and what you can actually maintain on a consistent basis when it comes to diet and exercise. Like if you never work out or you haven't for a long time, and I used to see this all the time when I used to coach classes at my local gym, and I tend to see it a lot with new members that are just coming in. So before class, we'll do a little meet and greet, and then I ask them what their goals are. I ask them if they're already working out before joining. They'll usually say no, which is fine. And then I ask them, when was the last time they exercised consistently? Consistently means at least 6 consecutive months. And then they'll say over 10 years ago or decades ago when they were in college. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then I ask them, how many days a week would you like to come in? And then they'll say 5 days a week. Even if they have the best intentions by saying that, that's overdoing it. It's not sustainable. These people are going from 0 to 5 days a week for exercise. Even if they train properly 5 days a week, and that's a big if. It's just too much for an individual to go from 0 to 5 and maintain consistency. It almost never happens. Like I've literally just seen it a handful of times. And I've coached thousands of people over the past decade. Oftentimes, I would see them every day for that first week, and then they would disappear for weeks after that because it was just way too much. They overdid it on that first week. And it's usually coming from this notion of wanting to get to the destination as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, overdoing it, more likely than not, means you're gonna get there slower. It does the exact opposite. Like, you can't get it all back. You can't make up for all the years of inactivity by working out 5 to 7 days a week and severely cutting calories. That's not how it works. And overtraining, especially if all you do is cardio, which is what most people do, also tends to result in weight gain for a lot of people. Imagine that. It's just way too stressful to your body, especially if it's all you do and you do it every day. That's how people end up getting that pear-shaped body look. They start to store fat specifically around their stomach. It also affects the gut in a negative way. Overtraining is also when overuse injuries tend to happen. Ask any regular jogger or runner, and they'll tell you that they're usually dealing with some sort of injury. Again, this is very common human behavior. We want to get to that desired outcome as quickly as possible. I mean, our entire culture these days is based off of that. Like, why do you think people keep buying lottery tickets? Or people fall for bogus methods like freezing your fat away, or going on overpriced juice cleanses, and drinking detox slimming teas? People are always just under the mentality of how can I get rich quickly? How can I achieve whatever goal I have the quickest way possible? You know, that get rich quick overnight type of success. Unfortunately, there's no magic pill to really accelerate this fat loss process. You have to put in the work by eating the proper diet and living an active lifestyle and not overdo it. And that takes time. I love this quote from Arnold because it's so accurate. A well-built physique is a status symbol. It reflects that you worked hard for it. No money can buy it. You can't borrow it. You can't inherit it. You can't steal it. You can't hold on to it without constant work. It shows discipline, it shows self-respect, it shows patience, work ethic, and passion. That's why I do what I do. I love it. You gotta put in the time, but overdoing it won't get you to the desired destination faster. Now, if you're completely ignorant to nutrition science and you just follow eat less and move more, It's the most common advice given to someone who's overweight or obese. What ends up happening is people end up eating way less than what they should for their size and body. Definitely way less than someone who's trying to build and maintain muscle, which is what you need to do if you want to maintain your results. Especially with this ever-growing narrative to go more plant-based, which is based on garbage data. And if you follow that advice and you don't know what you're doing, your body won't get enough of the essential amino acids to trigger muscle protein synthesis, because not all protein are created equal. And studies show that we're already mostly plant-based anyway. 70% of our calories are already coming from plants. Like, I've done consultations with people that weigh the exact same as me, but they're literally eating half the amount of calories as I do. The worst part is they're not losing weight. And again, they're overdoing it with exercise. Someone who's completely sedentary and not doing anything is all of a sudden doing super intense HIIT workouts. Or they're on the cardio machine 5 to 7 days a week, going like this, counting how many calories they're burning. It always drives me up the wall when influencers just toss that calories in versus calories out advice around. Just eat less calories. It's the law of thermodynamics. And by the way, be careful who you're taking your advice from. This might be a little controversial, but choose your influencer wisely. Is the person you're following thriving? For example, a lot of these influencers and even doctors pushing this plant-based diet look nothing close to being healthy if you see them on video or you look at them on social media. And I know that social media isn't everything, but it gives you a small glimpse. Some of them look downright cachexic or sarcopenic. Whereas if you look at people like Dr. Paul Saladino and Dr. Sean Baker, as well as Mark Sisson and Cynthia Monteleone, for example, who are not afraid to eat meat. In fact, they're advocating for a more animal-based diet approach. I would much rather get my advice from those people because they're all thriving. They all have amazing biomarkers. Cynthia Monteleone ran faster at age 43 than she did as a Division I track athlete. Paul Saladino and Sean Baker regularly post their biomarkers on social media, and they look like that. A lot of these vegan influencers aren't willing to do the same. I wonder why. Maybe because their diet isn't working and they're not healthy? I'm absolutely willing to share my biomarkers. And this isn't about shaming people, okay? But let's call a spade a spade. Mark Sisson, and he's my favorite example of this, he's 68 years old and he looks like that. How many 68-year-olds do you know that are out in open water paddleboarding? I've got all the time in the world for whatever he has to say. By the way, I'm not saying that calories in versus calories out isn't true, okay? Pump the brakes. Yes, you need to be on a calorie deficit. What I'm saying is there's a lot of nuance to that statement. Like, not all calories are created equal. Because the unintended consequence, if you just take that eat less and move more in its most literal meaning, the human body just gets oversimplified to a simple mathematical equation. It's akin to telling a drug addict to use less drugs if he wants to get better. Like, how do you think that's gonna go? Now, does eat less and move more translate to weight loss? Initially, yes. You can go on a Twinkie diet and lose weight, but I can almost guarantee that you'll eventually stall and you're gonna be in a bad place sooner than later. Like, if you look at the studies done on the Biggest Loser contestants, they lose weight while they're on the show following eat less and move more. Sure, but they all put the weight back and then some after they're done the show. What's worse is their metabolism is still completely messed up years after the show. That's not good, because what ends up happening is people take the obesogenic diet that they've been following and just eat less of it. When they hit a weight loss plateau, which is inevitable, they cut even more calories. Again, overdoing it when it comes to dieting, it's a recipe for disaster. I've had many people come into my coaching program where they're barely eating 1,000 calories. Their metabolism is completely tanked. Because of that, they're not losing weight, they're miserable because they're hungry all the time. They have no energy to do anything. It's a bad deal. Now they're scared of food. They're scared that even if they smell something delicious, they'll gain weight. Sound familiar? What I tell people to rid themselves of this over-dieting mentality is look at the quality of the food you're eating, because quality dictates quantity. I repeat, quality dictates quantity, especially in today's standard American ad libitum food environment. That's why I completely change people's weight loss paradigm when they join my coaching program. I tell them right away that we're gonna focus on building strength at the same time. even if they say they want to lose 50 pounds. Because again, when people have no idea about nutrition science, they tend to overdo it with diet and exercise. That's why you see a lot of people gravitate towards cardio, because it's easy to see how many calories you burn on the machine, or whatever your fitness tracker spits out, which is inaccurate, by the way. Like, that number almost means nothing. Or people do these super intense cardio-based group fitness classes 5 days a week, and then they combine that with under-eating / over-dieting. Rinse and repeat. And when it stops working, they double down and do more of it. It's the wrong way to go about it. Rarely do I ever focus on calories these days. Instead, I get people to focus on nutrient density and satiety, making sure the body has all the proper building blocks to optimize body composition. If you focus on food quality, the calories part will almost always take care of itself because your body has built-in natural satiety mechanisms. Try to overeat on boiled chicken, for example. You can't. Open up a family-sized bag of chips. Next thing you know, you're staring at the bottom of the bag, and maybe you are a family. I've worked with a lot of people where I actually had to increase their calories, eating the right foods to give their body the signal that it's not in survival mode anymore. And then they start losing weight again while eating more calories. That's a way better deal. At the end of the day, the right dose will actually get you there faster and will also make it way more sustainable long term. Doing more is the wrong dose. Doing less is also not optimal. But if I had to pick, I will always pick the person that's underdoing it because it's so much easier to just ramp things up. Overdoing it, on the other hand, is so much harder to back off of, because now you have to work even harder to bring up your completely tanked metabolism and hormones. Again, you have to take one step back in order to take 10 steps forward in that regard. Picture an inverted J-curve graph. You do some, you get results, then you hit that sweet spot, but if you overdo it, it results into a steep decline. That applies to exercise, dieting, and even intermittent fasting, which I mentioned earlier. A lot of people are under the impression that the most that they can tolerate is the right dose. People think that because they're getting some results, they start to think that their bodies can tolerate more to get even faster results. It's kind of like your doctor prescribing you meds. Let's say your doctor gives you a pill and tells you to take 1 a day. You start to think to yourself, I want this to heal faster, so I'm going to start taking 2. Heck, let me take the entire bottle. Like, no. Hey guys. If you enjoyed that video and you want to keep doing a deep dive because there's so much more to learn, then you're going to love this one. We're just getting warmed up. All right, I'll see you there.